Bonjour à tous and welcome to Learn French with Vincent, and this is Unité 9, leçon O, and in this lesson we'll discover together l'impératif. Okay, so as usual when we see a tense, we first work on l'emploi, so when do we use it, and then after that we'll see la formation, so how do we construct this impératif form, okay? But then first, of course, l'emploi. So when do we use the impératif? Well, it's quite simple. We've got three main uses of l'impératif. The first one, le conseil. So if you want to translate conseil, it would be advice, okay? So if you want to give an advice to someone, okay, in most of the cases you will use this impératif form. Or then if you want to give an order, okay, so normally that's the tense we use if we want to use this order thing. And then la défense, so if you want to forbid something to someone, okay, so in that case you should use l'impératif, okay? So conseil, ordre ou défense, okay? We'll see just a few examples just to see how it works. Le conseil, so we've got this example. Pour aller à la gare, tournez à gauche et continuez tout droit, okay? So to go to the station, aller is to go, la gare, the station. Pour aller à la gare, tourner, and that's our first impératif, à gauche, on your left, et continuer, continuer is to continue, tout droit, straight. Okay, so tourner and continuer here are at the impératif form. Okay, normally at this level, maybe it rings a bell and maybe you can think that they look like something we saw previously. Okay, so ordre now, if you want to give an order, same thing here. Fais tes devoirs, okay, so faire is to give, to do, and then tes devoirs, your homework, okay, we tend to put that at the plural form in French. Fais tes devoirs, okay, and this is here as well an impératif, okay, and then let's see now, une défense. N'utilisez pas votre téléphone portable pendant le cours. So, of course, in that case, défense, you want to forbid something, so you should use this negative form, okay? So, n'utilisez pas votre téléphone portable during le cours, the lesson, okay? Utiliser is to use. N'utilisez pas votre téléphone portable pendant le cours. Same thing here. Utiliser is at the imperative form, okay? So now, first thing, when we talk about this imperative form, the first thing that you've got to remember is that we've got only three persons, so there will be tu, nous, and then vous. So the imperative doesn't exist for je, for il and il au pluriel. Okay, and then the second thing that you should remember is that you won't use these pronoms personnels. So normally when we've got a tense, well, so far all the tenses that we saw, you use these pronoms personnels, so tu, nous, and vous, okay? The concept with the imperative is that you won't use tu, either nous or vous, okay? So you don't use these pronoms personnels. All right, so these two things are the main thing. First, only three persons, tu, nous, and vous. And the second thing, you don't use the pronom personnel. Okay, let's see now how we build this imperative form. So, we'll see first the premier groupe, then we'll see the deuxième groupe, and then the troisième groupe, and finally, of course, as usual, the irregular verbs. All right, so let's start with the first group, le premier groupe. So normally the first group, and it's been that way so far, is the easy group because it is regular. In that case, for the imperative, well, it will be the tricky group, okay? Because for instance, at the present form, we've got tu parles, okay? So that's the present form of the verb parler, parler to talk, from the first group, okay? If we want to make this imperative form, well, it will look like that, parle. So you can see that your final S needs to go away, and you will get this parle form. This is your imperative form, so l'impératif. And then don't forget to put le point d'exclamation here, because whether it's an order or an advice, you should put it. Okay, that's the way it goes. And then remember, we don't put the pronom personnel, so just this form. Okay, so that's the first form of parler at the imperatif. Then nous parlons, so this is the present form. Okay, well, it's quite easy. You don't touch it, you don't change anything, you just put it back here. Don't put the pronom personnel, of course, just put this point d'exclamation at the end, and you've got your imperative form, so parlons. Okay, and then vous parlez, well, same thing here. You just keep it like it is at the present form, and you just put your point d'exclamation at the end. So what you need to remember is that the only thing that will change, so between the present form here and this imperative form, is this final S that normally we don't pronounce, but still we write it. Okay, so it needs to go away at the imperative for the tu form. Okay, let's see now verbs from the second group. So I took this finir to end, to finish. Okay, so tu finis at the present form, and have a look, it's exactly the same form, fini. Okay, point d'exclamation, and you take away the pronom personnel. All right, then nous finissons, exactly the same form, finissons. Don't forget the point d'exclamation at the end, and you take away this nous. Vous finissez, and you will get finissez. Okay, so what you've got to remember, second group of verbs, actually they will be exactly the same as at the present form. Okay, so no change. Of course, you need to take away the pronom personnel, but the forms will stay the same. Okay, so let's see now the troisième groupe. So normally in most of the cases, troisième groupe is the contain all the tricky verbs. Okay, but then if you take the example of prendre, prendre is to take. Tu prends at the present form. Okay, well, look, it is exactly the same thing. Keep in mind that, of course, you should put this point d'interrogation at the end. Point d'exclamation at the end, and then you take away this pronom personnel, but still it's the same form. All right, then nous prenons at the present form, we'll get this prenons, and the last one, vous prenez, you will get prenez. Okay, so third group of verbs, actually it's quite easy because you don't touch anything, you don't change anything, you just take away this pronom personnel, and you will have your imperative form. Okay, of course, as usual in French, we've got some irregular verbs. Okay, so the first one will be aller. Okay, so aller will be like that. So the only thing that will change with aller is, well, what we saw in the first group, the final S will go away. So you get va, allons, aller. Okay, the other forms are exactly the same. Savoir will become sache, sachons, sachez. Ouvrir, ouvre, so the S goes away. Ouvrons, ouvrez. Okay, aller is to go, savoir to know, ouvrir to open. Okay, then of course, être and avoir. So être will become soit. Remember, final S is not pronounced. Soit. Then soyons, soyez. All right? Soit, soyons, soyez. And avoir will become est. Remember, the final E is not pronounced, so you only have this A-I sound. Est. Okay? Est, ayons, ayez. Okay? Est, ayons, ayez. Okay, so one more time. Soit, soyons, soyez. Then est, ayons, ayez. All right? And now, remember that all these tricky verbs will be modified if you put a pronoun after. Okay, and we're talking about only two categories of pronouns. So we saw the pronouns previously, so you should know now what pronouns I'm talking about. So I'm talking about this pronoun I here, so the Y pronoun, and I'm talking about the pronoun en, okay? So because in most of the, well, not most of the cases, but quite often in French, when we use the imperative, we tend to avoid repeating things. So we will put pronouns if needed and if possible, okay? So in that case, for instance, remember, pense, so it's from the first group. So normally when you put this imperative, you shouldn't put the S, okay? But then if you put this Y, so this pronoun after, then you will have to put back this S just to produce it orally, because you will pronounce it pense-y, pense-y, okay? Pense-y, all right? So you get to make this liaison. Same thing here, vas-y, vas-y, all right? And then achètes-en, achètes-en, all right? So that's one important thing if you want to construct this imperative form with pronouns. Then now we'll see how to construct this imperative when we've got the negative form. After that, we'll see how it works if you've got only one pronoun and pronom complément, and then one or two in that case. And then finally, we'll see with the verb pronominaux. But then now first, la négation. So I took this parler verb, and if you have a look at it, so imperative is parle, okay? If you want to write the same sentence but at the negative form, well, it's quite easy because it will be ne parle pas, okay? So you just put your ne before the verb and then the pas after the verb, and of course you don't change the rest. Finir, finissons, ne finissons pas, okay? So same concept, ne first, then your verb, and after that, pas. And then mettre, mettez will become ne mettez pas. Okay, so it's not that difficult. Now let's see with the pronouns. Okay, and then first part will be with one pronoun, and after that we'll see how to construct that with two pronouns, and it is a bit difficult if I'm totally honest with you. But now with one pronoun, let's see, regarde-moi. Okay, and it will become at the negative form ne me regarde pas. Okay, so here normally remember these pronouns me, okay, should come before the verb. Then the rule at the imperative is that if you've got these structures, so structure affirmative, okay, so it's not the negative form, then they should come after, and then this me is one of the pronouns that will change and it will become moi. Regarde-moi, okay? But when you put back this structure to the negative form, so me just become the normal form, so ne me regarde pas, all right? Same thing, so toi will be the second and the last to be drastically modified, so it will become regarde-toi, okay? So the rules stay the same, you put it after, okay? Regarde-toi. All right, but then when you put the negative form, well, it becomes normal, so ne and then te regarde pas. Okay, keep in mind that as usual for the pronouns, they will come before the verb, okay? So your negative form is coming before and after the whole thing. And then, well, if you've got this le pronoun, or it could be the la, well, it will stay the same, so no modification, so regarde-le, and then negative form, ne le regarde pas, okay? Regarde-la, ne la regarde pas. It could be regarde-nous, okay? Ne, whoops, sorry, I made a mistake, it should be nous here, ne nous regarde pas, okay? And the last one, regarde-les will become ne les regarde pas. Okay, so keep in mind that it's only this me and te pronouns that will change. They will become this moi and toi. So they will become these forms, and you should put each time anyway after the verb. And don't forget this little thing between the two, because as you can see, we've got to put it. Okay? Now, if you want to put two pronouns in your structure with the imperative, well, it's something that's well, it's not really rare to use that, okay? But then, well, we've got some, of course, as usual, quite strict rules, and that's the thing. The first part that you will have will be me or m apostrophe, te or t apostrophe, lui, then nous, and leur, okay? So that will be the first thing that you will have to put, and after that will come your pronoun en, okay? That's normally the association of pronouns that we've got, okay? So let's see them in action. For instance, parlement, okay? So as you see, first you put this m apostrophe and then you put your pronoun, okay? Don't forget that they must come after your verb because it's the imperative. Parlement, okay? But if you put them at the negative form, then you will get ne m'en parle pas, okay? Remember, negative form, then they come back as they should be all the time, so before the verb, all right? So another example, parle-nous en, okay? Here, and then we will get ne nous en parle pas. Okay, sorry for the examples, but I tend to not to make the liaison when I make these little examples, just because I think it's more clear not to make the liaison, okay? But then, of course, parle-nous-en, ne nous en parle pas should be the way you should pronounce them, okay? But still, just to make it clear where you put them and to avoid any mistake or anything like that. Okay, so same thing here. So parle, and then after that you've got your pronoun and second pronoun en. But when you put the negative form, ne, and then you put them back before your verb. Okay. Second possibility that you would have would be the pronouns like le, la, and les. Okay. And they will come first, and after that you will have this moi, lui, nous, and leur, okay? Let's see a few examples now. Donne-la-moi, okay? Donne-la-moi. So exactly the same rule as we saw previously, okay? So you put them after your verb, like that, okay? But of course, when you put the negative form, then you put them back. Look, ne me la donne pas. Donne-la-moi, ne me la donne pas. Then, donne-la-nous. And it will become ne nous la donne pas. All right, so I know this is really difficult, so don't worry, because many students have some difficulties at the beginning, okay? But then little by little, you will understand the structure and the way to construct that, okay? Just try to keep that in mind, okay? Try to listen to persons and then try to use this structure. But remember that in many cases it's possible to avoid repeating or to avoid, using the pronouns by repeating a few words, okay? So it's an option as well, okay? So let's see now les verbes pronominaux, okay? And so I took this se regarder verb, okay? So regarde-toi. And then if you put the same structure, but then at the negative form, so ne te regarde pas. Regardons-nous. Ne nous regardons pas. Regardez-vous. Ne vous regardez pas. Okay, so exactly the same thing as we saw previously. So toi, nous, and vous should come after the verb. Okay, but when you put this structure at the negative form, so te, nous, and vous should come before the verb. Okay, so that's the rule. That's it. I hope it was not too difficult. I know that the imperative form doesn't look like much when you look at it like that, but then if you want to structure it with the pronouns, it's a bit tricky, okay? But then don't worry. If you want more videos, then youtube.com/imagier, and the website is waiting for you, www.imagier.net. Have a great day. Bye bye.